The haunting echoes of forgotten souls. The air was heavy with an unnatural chill as I stood alone in the decaying mansion. The walls whispered with the echoes of forgotten lives, and the flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows that danced across the peeling wallpaper. I could feel the weight of the past pressing down on me, a presence that lingered in every creaking floorboard and rustling curtain. I had heard the tales of this place, stories of a family that had once thrived within these walls, only to be consumed by a darkness that no one could explain. They said the house was haunted, that the spirits of the tormented souls who had met their end here still roamed the halls, seeking solace that would never come. As I explored the dimly lit rooms, the silence was broken only by the soft whisper of the wind outside, rattling the windows like ghostly fingers tapping at the glass. I tried to shake off the unease that clung to me like a shroud, convincing myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks in the shadows. But as I reached the top of the grand staircase, a sudden cold breeze swept through the corridor, extinguishing my flickering candle. Panic set in, and I fumbled with the matches, desperate to relight the flame that had been my only source of comfort in this desolate place. As the match finally caught, its feeble glow revealed a figure at the end of the hallway, a silhouette that seemed to materialize from the darkness itself. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest as the figure slowly advanced toward me. The air grew colder with each step, and I could see the pale glow of its eyes fixed upon me. I tried to speak, but my voice caught in my throat, choked by the fear that gripped me. The ghostly apparition came into clearer view, its features distorted and twisted by the pain of a life cut short. It was a woman, her tattered gown trailing behind her as she drifted closer. Her eyes bore into mine, filled with a sorrow that sent shivers down my spine. "I warned them," she whispered, her voice echoing through the empty corridor. But they did not listen. They unleashed the darkness, and now we are bound to this place, trapped between the worlds of the living and the dead. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with the implications of her words. The tales were true. The mansion was haunted, and the spirits within were restless, seeking retribution for sins long forgotten. As I retreated down the staircase, the ghost followed, her mournful gaze never leaving me. The once grand chandelier above swayed ominously, casting flickering shadows that seemed to writhe with a life of their own. The air grew colder still, and I could hear the distant moans and whispers of other trapped souls joining the ghostly procession. I stumbled into the parlor, where faded portraits stared down from the walls, their eyes seeming to follow my every move. The room felt oppressive, suffocating, as if the very walls were closing in around me. I could no longer deny the truth. I was not alone in this place, and the spirits that dwelled here were not at rest. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted, and the room was plunged into darkness. The air was thick with a malevolent energy, and I could feel unseen eyes watching me. The silence was shattered by the agonized wails of the tormented souls that surrounded me, their voices rising in a haunting chorus. In the inky blackness, I fumbled for the matches, my hands trembling as I struggled to bring light back to the room. When the flame finally flickered to life, the shadows retreated, revealing the ghostly figures that had materialized around me. Their faces twisted in eternal agony, they reached out with skeletal hands, their fingers brushing against my skin like a cold breeze. I recoiled, but there was no escape from the spectral prison that had enveloped me. The air was thick with the stench of decay, and I could hear the disembodied whispers of the damned, their words unintelligible but filled with a palpable malevolence. As I stumbled through the haunted mansion, each room seemed to hold a new horror. Faces contorted in pain stared out from the darkness, and the walls seemed to close in, trapping me in a nightmarish labyrinth. The ghostly figures followed, their mournful cries echoing in the empty corridors. I reached the heart of the mansion, a forgotten chamber hidden away in the depths of the building. The walls were adorned with ancient symbols, and a sinister energy pulsed through the air. In the center of the room stood a decaying altar, and upon it rested an old, weathered tome. The ghostly figures converged around me, their eyes fixed on the tome as if it held the key to their salvation. With trembling hands, I opened the book, and the pages rustled as if whispering secrets only the dead could comprehend. As I read the words aloud, the air crackled with an otherworldly energy, and the room seemed to come alive with spectral light. The ghostly figures began to wail in agony, their forms twisting and contorting as if caught in the grip of some unseen force. The very walls of the mansion groaned, as if the building itself was in pain. I could feel the malevolence that had haunted this place for centuries, recoiling, retreating into the shadows from which it had emerged. But as the last words left my lips, a guttural growl echoed through the chamber, and the temperature plummeted once more. The ghostly figures turned their mournful gaze toward the source of the sound, and a darkness darker than the blackest night began to seep into the room. A figure emerged from the shadows, a twisted, malevolent entity that seemed to embody the very essence of evil. Its eyes glowed with an unholy light, and its form was indistinct, shifting and contorting as if it were a manifestation of pure malevolence. "You cannot banish me," it hissed, its voice a chorus of anguished whispers. "This place is mine, and you are but a trespasser in the realm of the damned." The ghostly figures recoiled in terror, their spectral forms flickering like dying embers. I could feel the oppressive weight of the malevolent entity pressing down on me, and I knew that I was in the presence of a force far beyond my understanding. Desperation gripped me, and I clutched the ancient tome, seeking some semblance of protection. But the entity laughed, a sound that sent chills down my spine. "Foolish mortal," it sneered. "You cannot comprehend the depths of the darkness that dwells within these walls. Your feeble attempts to banish me only strengthen my hold on this accursed place." The room seemed to close in around me, the air thick with a suffocating malevolence. The ghostly figures writhed in agony, their cries merging with the sinister laughter of the entity. I stumbled backward, my mind a whirlwind of terror and despair. As the darkness enveloped me, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder, the touch of a ghostly figure that had once sought solace in my presence. Its eyes pleaded with me, a silent plea for release from the eternal torment that bound it to this haunted realm. In that moment, a surge of determination rose within me. I could not allow this malevolent entity to claim the souls trapped within these walls. With newfound resolve, I raised the ancient tome high and began to recite the incantations within. The room shook with a violent force, and the malevolent entity recoiled in pain. The ghostly figures, their spectral forms flickering with renewed hope, joined their ethereal voices with mine. The very foundations of the mansion trembled as the battle between light and darkness raged within its walls. As I spoke the final words of the incantation, a blinding light erupted from the ancient tome, banishing the darkness that had plagued the mansion for centuries. The malevolent entity let out a wail of anguish, its form dissipating into the shadows from whence it came. The ghostly figures surrounded me, their eyes filled with gratitude and relief. The air, once heavy with malevolence, began to lighten, and the temperature returned to normal. I could feel the spirits of the tormented souls passing into the afterlife, their ethereal forms fading into the light. The mansion, once a haunted prison, now stood silent and still. The oppressive atmosphere that had clung to every corner had lifted, leaving behind only the echoes of a bygone era. The air no longer carried the weight of despair, and the shadows that had danced on the walls had vanished. Exhausted but victorious, I stumbled out of the mansion leaving behind the haunted realm that I had dared to enter. As I looked back at the now still and lifeless structure, I wondered if anyone would ever uncover the secrets that lay hidden within its decaying walls. The wind whispered through the overgrown trees, carrying with it the soft echoes of the past. The mansion stood as a silent sentinel, its secrets buried deep within its haunted halls. I walked away, haunted by the memories of that fateful night, forever changed by the encounter with the spirits that had sought redemption in the darkness. The malevolent entity was banished, but the echoes of the haunted mansion would forever linger in the recesses of my mind, a chilling reminder of the thin veil that separates the living from the dead.